Greetings, I am Heng, and I welcome you. In this modern world, a storm often rages, not just outside but profoundly within us. We find ourselves constantly buffeted by winds of emotion, by relentless waves of external demands, and by the turbulent currents of ceaseless change. It feels at times as if the very fabric of existence is conspiring to pull us apart, to shatter our inner peace, to break our spirit into countless fragments. But I am here to tell you, with the distilled wisdom of centuries of continuous practice, a wisdom refined through countless hours of quiet observation and rigorous self-discipline, that there exists a way to stand firm, to remain unshakable, no matter the intensity of the turbulence that surrounds you, no matter the ferocity of the inner turmoil you might experience. My journey, the Shaolin way, is far more than a mere display of physical prowess or martial arts technique. It is at its very core a profound and continuous process of mastering the self, of bringing the mind into perfect harmony. It is about understanding the subtle, often unseen mechanisms that allow us to be disturbed, to be thrown off balance, and then systematically and patiently dismantling these mechanisms, piece by calm piece. Join me then, as we embark together on this journey of exploration, a journey into the depths of your own being, as we illuminate the path to true, enduring inner stillness. A stillness that is not passive, but powerfully active, not weak, but supremely strong. Let us begin with a truth so fundamental, yet so often overlooked. A truth that once fully grasped, has the power to fundamentally alter your entire perception of yourself and your place in the world. Many people, perhaps most people, live their lives under the deeply ingrained, yet ultimately false, belief that they are their feelings. They articulate their experience by saying, I am angry, I am sad, I am afraid, or I am happy. They conflate their fleeting emotional states with their core identity. But I urge you to pause, to breathe deeply, and to observe this phenomenon with unwavering closeness. If you were truly and intrinsically your anger, your sadness, or your fear, then how could these emotions ever dissipate? How could they possibly arise with such intensity, manifest their presence, and then moments or hours later, simply subside, leaving you in a demonstrably different emotional state? If your identity were inseparable from your feelings, then every shift in emotion would mean a fundamental change in who you are, which intuitively, we know cannot be true. Your anger may be consuming in one moment, but it does not define the entirety of your being for all time. Your joy may be exhilarating, but it too passes. No. These emotions are not you. They are merely states, transient conditions of your inner landscape. They are not the sky itself, but rather like clouds moving across the vast, boundless expanse of the sky. They appear, they gather, they shift their forms, they may even bring a storm, and then inevitably, they dissipate and disappear. The true you is not the cloud, nor the storm within. The true you is the expansive sky itself, the infinite, silent observer, the pure consciousness that perceives these feelings, without ever being defined, confined, or blemished by them. This conscious awareness, this internal observer, is always present, always calm, always still. It is the unwavering, unmoving center within you, regardless of how wild or chaotic the external storm may rage, or how turbulent the inner emotional weather may become. It is the eye of the hurricane, eternally calm, eternally. When you begin to cultivate the practice of stepping back even for the briefest of moments, and simply observing your emotions without judgment, without analysis, without identification, and crucially, without attachment, you begin to realize this profound and liberating truth. This act of dispassionate observation creates a vital space, a sacred distance between you and your feelings. This distance is your first and perhaps most crucial step towards reclaiming your inherent power, toward understanding that you are not simply a prisoner of your reactions, a puppet swayed by every emotional impulse, but rather the master of your own perception, the silent witness to your own inner world. This shift in perspective is not merely intellectual, it is transformative, leading you to a deeper, more stable sense of self. Let us now direct our focused attention to one of the most common, most destructive, and most consuming of human emotions: anger. When you experience anger, the immediate sensation is often one of being attacked or wronged. It feels like an external force, something inflicted upon you by unfortunate circumstances, by the actions of others, or by the unfairness of life itself. But I invite you now to consider a radically different perspective, one that is not only deeply insightful but also immensely liberating. Anger is not caused by the external event itself, but rather by an internal attachment that has been triggered, threatened, or violated. This insight is a true game changer. Think deeply about this. Why do you become consumed with fury when another driver cuts you off in traffic? Is it the car's maneuver itself, or is it your unconscious attachment to your time, to your perceived control over your journey, to your expectation of order and efficiency? Why does a critical comment from a colleague or a loved one ignite a firestorm within you? Is it the words themselves, or your deep-seated attachment to being respected, to being seen in a particular positive light, to your image, or to the fragile fortress of your ego? Why does a broken promise or an unmet expectation stir such resentment? It is often your attachment to reliability, to certainty, to a specific desired outcome. Anger in its purest form is a manifestation of unfulfilled desire, of thwarted will, or of a perceived threat to something we hold on to, something we are deeply attached. We cling to these attachments, be they expectations, desires, outcomes, or even our very identity, often without even realizing their pervasive influence. These attachments are like invisible threads, thousands of them, connecting us to countless external conditions and circumstances. When these conditions are not met, when our desires are thwarted, or when these attachments are even subtly threatened, the thread is pulled taut, sometimes even snapped, and the emotion of anger arises as a fierce, often overwhelming reaction to that perceived threat, loss, or violation. To free yourself from this incessant cycle of anger and reactivity is to embark upon a profound process of liberation. This does not imply becoming apathetic or uncaring. It does not mean you stop striving for excellence or connecting deeply with others. On the contrary, it means you release the rigid, often suffocating, grip of needing things to conform precisely to your internal blueprints, your preconceived notions of how life should be. It means understanding deeply and viscerally that while you can influence the world, you can never truly control its myriad circumstances or the wills of others. Your peace, your inner equilibrium does not and should not depend on external validation, perfect outcomes, or the flawless behavior of others. When you begin to consciously loosen your grip on these hidden attachments, when you realize that your inner tranquility is an internal resource that cannot be stolen by external events, you become progressively less susceptible to external provocations. The subtle arrows of insult, the blunt force of frustration, the sharp edges of disappointment, they may still fly in your direction, but they will find no attachment to pierce, no fuel to ignite your internal fire. They will simply pass through. This, my friends, is not merely a philosophical concept. It is a profound and practical path to true resilience, to an inner fortress that no external storm can dismantle. In the ceaseless, often overwhelming clamor of the modern world, there persists a pervasive and unfortunate misconception that true power resides in outward display, in constant noise, in ceaseless activity, in aggressive action. We are bombarded with images of frantic motion, loud declarations, and relentless pursuit. But I tell you from the depths of profound experience that this is a superficial power, easily exhausted, a flickering flame that soon consumes itself. The true, enduring power, the power that allows you to remain profoundly grounded and centered in the face of any adversity, any challenge, any emotional upheaval, resides not in agitation, but in silence and calm. Consider for a moment the ancient tree standing majestically, rooted deep within the earth, facing the fiercest hurricane. It does not rage back at the wind. It does not fight the storm with flailing branches. Instead, it simply holds its roots deep, remains still, bending but not breaking. Its strength is in its groundedness, its silent resilience. Similarly, the truly strong person is not the one who reacts impulsively, who shouts in frustration, who allows their emotions to dictate their every action, becoming a victim of their own inner turbulence. The truly strong individual is the one who chooses stillness. They observe the situation unfolding around them, they reflect upon its nature, and from a deep, clear place of inner quiet, they choose their response, their action, with absolute intention and precision. This is not passive inaction. On the contrary, it is the highest form of active, deliberate, and powerful engagement. This profound capacity for stillness, for unwavering calm, is not an inherent gift bestowed upon a select few. It is a skill, a discipline, a strength that must be diligently cultivated. It is forged not in the chaos of external struggle, but in the crucible of unwavering mental discipline. It is built through countless moments of intentional silence, through focused and repetitive practice, and often, paradoxically, through the willingness to sit with and move beyond discomfort. Think of the hours spent in quiet meditation, the deliberate repetition of a movement in martial arts, the focused breathing exercises. These are not merely physical acts, they are profound mental training. It is in these quiet moments, in these sustained efforts, in pushing gently but firmly past your comfort zone, that you meticulously build the mental fortitude required to remain calm, clear, and composed under the most immense pressure. When you embrace silence, when you cultivate stillness, you begin to access a vast reservoir of strength that you never knew you possessed. You become attuned to the subtle whispers of your own intuition, the quiet, discerning voice of your deeper wisdom, which is so often drowned out by the incessant noise and demands of the world. This is where your true, enduring strength resides. A quiet, yet formidable force, an unshakable inner core that allows you to navigate life's inevitable challenges, not with frantic struggle, but with an elegant grace, with a profound sense of clarity, and with an inner peace that remains untouched by external circumstance. It is where your resilience is not merely talked about, but deeply, truly, and powerfully built, brick by calm, deliberate. Let us now turn our unwavering attention to the instrument itself, the mind. In its untrained, undisciplined state, the mind is, by its very nature, a reactive instrument. It is akin to a ship without a rudder, constantly pulled by every shifting current, every passing wave, every gust of wind. It is perpetually drawn and distracted by every external stimulus that bombards our senses and our consciousness. The incessant buzzing and flashing lights of your digital devices, the endless algorithmically curated scroll of social media information, the compelling, often overwhelming opinions and dramas of others, the persistent fears of the ego, and the ceaseless, captivating drama of the world unfolding around us. If left untended, if not consciously cultivated and guided, your attention, which is your most precious resource, becomes fragmented, scattered, and ultimately diffused. This leaves you perpetually vulnerable to every passing thought, every fleeting external demand, every emotional ripple. This constant state of reactivity means that your emotional state, your inner peace, and your overall well-being are perpetually dictated by external events, by the whims of others, by the ever-changing tides of circumstance. You become, in essence, a puppet to external forces, easily disturbed, easily manipulated, and constantly struggling to find your center. This state of being is not merely inconvenient, it is exhausting and ultimately prevents you from living a life of true intention and purpose. However, here lies the profound truth and the immense opportunity. The mind is also the most powerful tool you possess, and it can be trained. Like any muscle, it can be strengthened, honed, and directed with incredible precision. An undisciplined mind reacts, a trained mind selects. This, my friends, is the very essence of self-mastery, the core principle of inner freedom. To master your attention is to profoundly master your emotional life, your inner world, and ultimately your destiny. It is to consciously, deliberately, and with unwavering purpose, choose what you allow to enter your inner sanctuary, what you permit to occupy your precious mental energy. This mastery of attention requires a deliberate act of setting boundaries, not just external ones, such as silencing notifications, putting your phone away or carving out dedicated time for reflection, but crucially internal one. This means consciously deciding not to dwell on negative thoughts that serve no purpose, choosing not to engage in fruitless arguments or endless cycles of worry, and actively disengaging from the dramas of others that do not concern your part. When you become the vigilant guardian of your attention, you regain profound control over your inner world. You shift from being a passive recipient of mental input to an active discerning filter. This is a continuous practice, a daily cultivation, but one that yields immeasurable dividends in terms of peace, focus, and clarity. With each conscious choice to focus, to observe without judgment, to gently but firmly return your attention to the present moment, you strengthen your ability to remain calm, clear, and unperturbed, even when the world attempts to derail you with its relentless demands and distractions. You become the conscious pilot of your own consciousness, navigating the turbulent waters of life with purpose, precision, and an inner compass that always points towards stillness, rather than being tossed aimlessly by the chaotic winds of distraction. Finally, let us address a common and often deeply rooted misconception about the profound concept of detachment. Many people, when they hear the word detachment, immediately conjure images of becoming cold, unfeeling, emotionally distant, or even indifferent to the world and its inhabitants, to human suffering, or to the bonds of love and connection. I must tell you unequivocally that this could not be further from the truth. The Shaolin way of detachment is not a path of emotional withdrawal. It is a path of the most profound and authentic engagement with life, unburdened by clinging. Detachment is not indifference, it is profound freedom. To detach is not to reject life or to withdraw from the rich tapestry of human experience and connection. On the contrary, it is to embrace life more fully, more authentically, and with greater depth. Precisely because you are no longer burdened by the heavy, often suffocating weight of rigid expectations, the constant need for external validation, or the crushing anxieties of potential loss. It is to love deeply, passionately, and without reservation, but without the desperate, grasping need to control the object of your affection. Understanding that true love allows for freedom, for growth, for independent being. It is to strive for your goals, for excellence, for contribution, with unwavering determination and discipline, but without allowing the fear of failure, the fear of not achieving a specific outcome, to paralyze you or dictate your inner state. When you begin to consciously release your clinging to what others think of you, when you relinquish the exhausting need to control every single situation and outcome, when you let go of the inflexible belief that your happiness and peace depend solely on external conditions or the fulfillment of specific desires, you begin to become truly emotionally untouchable in the most beautiful and empowering sense of the word. You are no longer susceptible to the fickle winds of external validation or the sharp sting of disappointment. Your inner peace becomes your own, an internal sanctuary that no external force can breach. This profound freedom allows you to engage with life with an open heart, with a clear mind, and with a serene spirit. You become capable of experiencing the full, vibrant spectrum of human emotion, the exhilarating heights of joy, the quiet depths of sorrow, the invigorating rush of excitement, the profound stillness of peace, without ever being consumed or overwhelmed by any of them. You can navigate life's inevitable challenges, its unexpected twists and turns, its periods of loss and its moments of triumph, not with frantic struggle or bitter resistance, but with a quiet acceptance, and understanding that everything that arises is simply part of the flow, part of the great dance of existence. Detachment frees you from the exhausting and often painful emotional roller coaster, allowing you to appreciate the ride, to learn from every experience, without being thrown off by every unexpected twist and turn. This, my friends, is the ultimate liberation. It is the path to a life lived not in constant reaction, but in conscious creation. A life lived not in fear but in courage, a life lived not in attachment, but in boundless freedom. It is the pathway to a life lived fully, authentically, and rooted deeply in unshakable calm. So my friends, I leave you with this fundamental truth. a profound principle that has guided Shaolin monks for centuries through times of peace and times of profound turmoil, and one that can most assuredly guide you in your own daily life, no matter where you are or what challenges you face. You are not what you feel, you are the one who observes. And the more you observe, the less the world controls you. This journey to unshakable calm is not a destination easily reached, but a continuous path. It is a path of deep self-discovery, of unwavering quiet discipline, and ultimately of profound and liberating transformation. It is not about escaping the world or retreating from its demands, but rather about mastering your own experience within it. It is about building an inner sanctuary so strong, so clear, so profound, that no external storm can ever truly penetrate its walls and disturb your peace. I encourage you to begin this journey today. Take the first step. Observe yourself without judgment. Notice the subtle threads of your attachments. Actively seek out and cultivate moments of intentional silence in your day. Guard your attention fiercely, for it is your most valuable currency. And most importantly, come to understand, deeply and truly, that the immense quiet power to remain calm, to be unshakable when the world tries to break you, already resides within you. It is your inherent birthright, your unbreakable refuge, and your absolute key to a life lived with true peace, true strength, and true freedom. Awaken.